ones that you can actually apply. Then another part, somebody wanted, during our little break, wanted to share, this is my appreciation, this is something, something. So this is a good time for that also. And it's now 9:40. And we're supposed to stop at 10:30. Some of you have destinations to go to, whoever, amongst us are still left. So I think we'll try to keep it to 10:30, at maximum 1 hour, 10:40. I'd like to share one thing for myself to all of you. And that is, well, it's two parts to the same thing. We have ancestry, spiritual ancestry, which most of us, myself included, are not so familiar with. I've certainly become more familiar, but we have a wealth of heritage to look up to and to draw from and to be respectful towards. And it's nice to know how we got here. Now, primarily, our conception of how we got here has to do with the heritage of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers. However, before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers were others, and we're indebted to them. They laid a foundation, particularly Madhva's line, laid a foundation that we draw from. And it's nice to, using a phrase, bow down to them. And then comes the question, well, who's them? Who are they? What's their personality? What's the characteristics? What's their contributions? If I'm going to bow down, I'd like to know what I'm bowing down to besides in principle. So in principle is nice, but knowing what it is that you're bowing down to, because they've enriched our lives substantially. And we didn't even know it. Some of you may remember when Hanuman was crossing the ocean, he encountered obstacles, and the first obstacle had to do with the merits of past pious activities. Please note, it wasn't that Hanuman did something. Someone did something. His father did something, and he was reaping the benefit of what his father did. The merit of what his father did went to the son. Vayu rescued Mainaka, and Mainaka was indebted, and he was receiving the fruit of his father and his father's merit. And Hanuman was receiving the fruit of Ramachandra's ancestor. So we have ancestors that we're learning about, and they did lots and lots and lots and lots of good things, and we're reaping the fruit of what those ancestors did without even knowing what they did. So it's nice to know what they did so that we can not be the faulty enjoyers of the fruits of their sacrifice and austerities and gifts, but this is a difficult place. There's always difficulties. No exception here. So that's, for me, it's a big one. I feel inspired to learn more about these great personalities. I learned much, and to learn more so that I can have this sense of not just being the enjoyer of the fruits of predecessors' sacrifices, but acknowledge those sacrifices and the gifts they've given in a meaningful way with a sense of gratitude and service, because that's how one of the ways, principal ways where gratitude can be demonstrated is service, following the line of those persons who did and gave wonderful things. That's me. So now let's hear if there are persons who would like to volunteer, application points that you feel are meaningful to you. Try to be succinct, because I'm talking a lot, but you have to be succinct because there's a lot of you out there. Yeah. Do we have a portable microphone? You're second. Right in front row.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Firstly, tremendous appreciation for you and our wonderful God brothers and God sisters who arranged this. I feel very fortunate that I'm born now and not 1,000 years ago, because
you have roads to travel on. No.
Yeah.
That was a joke. And cars to get you there.
But it was very amazing to hear about Madhvacharya, his teachings, Ramanujacharya, and even you took the great risk of helping us appreciate Shankaracharya in Sringeri. And I felt that was like a drunk person going to a bar, because I come from that kind of a background. But at the same time, you helped us appreciate all of their teachings and then give us Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's complete teachings that Srila Prabhupada made baby food for us. And you helped it make it even more simpler for us to understand. So tremendous gratitude and appreciation for knowing that what we have today, especially the knowledge of Vrindavan, knowledge of Goloka, knowledge of Radharani that we have today, that 1,000 years ago, although very elevated devotees, they didn't have access to that, and we do. And so I just want to express my gratitude that thank you for opening the doors to such wonderful secrets of Krishna consciousness. And thank you for helping us appreciate all our, alternate, the Ramanuja followers, the Madhva followers, and seeing the commonality rather than fighting over the differences. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Someone over here, raise your hand again, so the person with the microphone can see you. Raise your hand again.
हरे कृष्ण महाराज, दंडवत प्रणाम। महाराज, इस यात्रा से मुझे मतलब ये सीखने को मिला कि माधवाचार्य के बारे में कुछ पता नहीं था, रामानुजाचार्य के बारे में मतलब ज़्यादा नॉलेज नहीं था, और अभी उनके मतलब जो डीटीज हैं जैसे योगा नरसिम्हा और सारे जो डीटीज के हमने दर्शन किए, वो मतलब उससे हमें मुझे आपसे मतलब बहुत मैं एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पा रही हूँ कि आपने इतना अच्छा हमें नॉलेज दिया, और इससे मैं भक्ति में और आगे बढ़ सकूं, उसके लिए मैं आपसे प्रार्थना करती हूँ गुरु महाराज। हरे कृष्ण।
Maharaj, you told about Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya. We didn't know much about them, and also about the deities like Yoga Narasimha and others. So yes, it was really nice to hear about them. So that and there is a prayer that I can become better in bhakti. So it was really nice hearing about these things as well.
Okay. And that the application was the last part, right? Ask her. Ask her. And Hindi, yeah, just ask her.
मैं कोशिश करूँगी कि जो मैं बहुत सारी चीज़ें जैसे मेरी आसक्तियाँ हैं, बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं जो मेरे जीवन में, तो मैं उनको कम करना चाहूँगी और भक्ति में और आगे बढ़ना चाहूँगी.
Yeah, so the application is that I can reduce my attachments and become better in bhakti, progress in bhakti.
Fantastic. You got the essence. I see some hands. We're going to take only a few of this kind of thing, and then we're going to go to questions.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. As a typical Hare Krishna follower, I used to have a tendency whenever I hear about the Shankaracharya impersonalism, just go away, stay away from something like that, negativity. But the presentations and my interactions with Shamkund Prabhu and other devotees changed the perspective, and it gives a big picture. On the top of it, my conviction, my faith is strengthened what the Prabhupada gave to me as a gift. So, thank you very much.
Just because you wave your hand doesn't mean you're going to get called on. I think we're just going to take one more. We're going to go to questions because it's now 10 minutes.
Guru Maharaj, the most liked class for me was of Hanuman crossing the ocean. And 3 application points that I'm taking from this yatra with respect to my children, reading Leelamrita, Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita with them. And secondly, with respect to serving with my godbrothers, sisters, fellow devotees, and my wife, cooperation, the spirit of cooperation, and myself practicing Trinadapi Sunichena. And final application for myself, for which I seek your blessings, is to get back to my everyday japa.
Every day?
Japa, rounds, chanting.
Ah.
Thank you.
I asked a couple of the children 2 questions. Did you have a good time? Yeah. Second question, how was your japa? One said, oh, I forgot my beads. Another didn't know what to say. So japa is not just for sannyasis or oldsters. Japa, chanting of the holy name, is meant for everyone. And it's certainly possible, it happens, that persons that chant regularly, even take vows to chant regularly, become a little complacent. It happens. So when that happens, or that you haven't regularly been chanting yet, that's a very important Chaitanya Mahaprabhu principle to, besides things that you like to do, like take prasadam, or go see deities and have kirtan, is to chant specifically just the focus of chanting of the holy name. The benefit that comes to oneself throughout one's whole life, starting with, Komara Acharat Pragyo Dharma. I was thinking, when we had that opportunity to speak something specific about Prahlad or from Prahlad, was to speak on that verse, because of Prabhupada's recorded lectures. I didn't count how many times, but many, many, many times he spoke on that verse. Meaning, it's important. It's important for, not only for parents, it's important for everyone to understand, certainly those who are in their tender age of childhood, to understand. And somehow or other, it seems that we have lots of children. I don't know how that happened, but somehow there's lots of children. And children need to hear and chant. So that's an application point. So at any stage, if you have become, because it happens, if you become inconsistent or something, relaxed, a little casual, a little something, dip, reconnect with our principal means of deliverance. Okay, so I want now to go to questions and discussion points. There were two that were asked of me yesterday and the day before yesterday. One that was asked yesterday is a person who can't be here, so I said just listen to the recording. And I'll try to send them the answer. Because we're in the Brahma Sampradaya and we heard a lot about Madhvacharya and his teachings of in the topmost position of jivas, following the goddess of fortune, is Brahma and Vayu. So the question was, can you describe a little bit more specifically about the body, the form of Brahma? So I consulted some learned persons, and the answer I got expanded, but it's Shukshma Sarira. Shukshma Sarira means subtle. So the body of Lord Brahma is body, mind, and intelligence, along with a set of senses that can, active senses and organs of perception. Because subtle bodies don't necessarily have organs of perception or organs of action, but Brahma's body does. And there's many other things to say. You know, how is it, for example, when Mahavishnu reclines, this is a detail, when Mahavishnu reclines in the causal ocean and the universes at the end of the cosmic manifestation are withdrawn, what happens to material energy? What happens to living entities? Living entities are placed in a state of susupti, which means deep sleep. Consciousness is still there because the souls are conscious, but consciousness is not active. So they're in a anesthetized state within the body of Mahavishnu. And Prakriti is also in its avyakta state, and it's in a position, Prakriti is in a position of unmanifesting varieties, but still having the characteristics of varieties, but unmanifest during cosmic annihilation. And then resting period, and then cosmic manifestation. And when living entities, when universes are expanded from Mahavishnu, Mahavishnu, expands for as many universes as there are, a form of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Listen carefully. Garbhodakshay Vishnu carries with him one universe's worth of living entities within his body, as was within the body of Mahavishnu. So one universe's worth of bodies, of entities, jivas. And then from the navel of Garbhodakshay Vishnu comes lotus stem and Lord Brahma. And within the body of Lord Brahma, which we just identified as Sukshma Sarira, Sarira means body and Sukshma means subtle, the sum total of one universe's worth of living entities are within the body of Lord Brahma. So he doesn't just create the universe, but we know Brahma manifests entities, some entities, directly from his body, which means they're in his body and potentially awaiting becoming manifest. And for some, he directly manifests without a female assistant. because they're within him and he has that capacity. And then those living entities become Prajapatis and so many, many, many living entities that are carried in the body of Lord Brahma. So he has a very important function in the universe, and including receiving knowledge directly from Narayana in the form of the Vedas become awakened within his heart. And then he distributes that knowledge to others. Is there an experimental way to verify all that? No. In the Chaturshloki verses of Bhagavad Gita, before the Chaturshloki verses of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verses 1 through 7, summarizing in simple language, Krishna says to Arjuna, nobody knows me. Why? Because I existed before they existed. So how can you know what existed before you existed? Experimentally, you can't know what existed before you existed because it existed before you existed. You can't know. But then it can be known. What existed before you existed can be known by disclosure of what existed before you existed. And then he starts describing what existed. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattak sarvam pravartate. Those who know that Krishna is the source of everything, matter and spirit, they engage in his service. But supposing you, no, I want, where's the proof? There's no way to prove because it existed before you. You can get inference, but you can't get experience because it existed before you existed. The means to know is through the Vedas. And Brahma is the one who received the Vedas. How old are the Vedas? Eternal. As eternal as the source of everything is eternal. The Vedas are co-eternal. And living entities are co-eternal. And then the creation is manifest, not manifest. So how do we know all that from the Vedas? Supposing I don't accept that authority, then you'll never know. Tough luck, Charlie. You can have some idea. Everyone has some idea. And the bell rings, says, sorry, Charlie, without the reference to the Vedas. You're not going to know. So during one of the appreciations here was before, when I heard Shankaracharya, it was like, now there's a difference between the person and the doctrine. Just like, how do you, samoham sarva bhuteshu name dvesho stina priya, that's Krishna's position. And then the devotee of Krishna's position is quite similar. Being pandita samadarshana. Krishna is Krishna, and we're the devotee of Krishna, meant to be able to see as Krishna sees. So how does Krishna see? With equal vision. And if we see properly, we also see. So how can we see with equal vision when doctrines are grating and troublesome and like, what? Krishna has no face? Excuse me. Krishna has no personality? Excuse me. Krishna has no qualities? Excuse me. That's insulting. So you don't have to like the doctrine, but we don't necessarily dislike the person. Now, if you're Madhva followers, some places are meant for hell, and that's it. That's not a Gaudiya picture, not a Christian picture. Everyone can be saved. But how to have equal vision. When doctrines are diametrically opposite, make a distinction between the words and the behavior corresponding with the words from the person. Then we can see the redeeming qualities of a person, while also recognizing but not casting aspersions against. So there was a question that Varsana asked. I mentioned it, I'm saying it again. Hopefully she'll hear the recording. Where do you draw the line? We've had several examples and I've emphasized it purposefully. Diversity, but unity. Okay. How far do you take it? Where do you, is there a point where you draw the line? And I've been thinking about it, and just taking it down to a personal level. If somebody has a different view, no surprise, because we all have different views. And there may be some that have categorically more like this, categorically more like that, categorically more like something else. And that's diversity of views. So I can be respectful of the person, and I may not be so respectful of their view. But then when I'm being respectful of those that at least, this is Bhaktisiddhanta, at least in principle, they're accepting Hari is the source of everything. Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Or matak parataram nanyat. Krishna, there's no truth superior to me. So if we accept, those who accept that principle, and there's diversity amongst those who would accept that principle, should there be a problem? Or are there occasions, this is the where do you draw the line? Where to draw the line is where they're aggressive about it. Mayism. And there are differences. You know, we could spend some time, I didn't, and I don't really think now is not the right time to indicate, let's say, even among Sri Vaishnavas, there's differences. And there's two groups. There's probably subgroups of those two groups. And there's differences. And boy, they have at it sometimes. So when they have at it, when they're aggressive about it, that you draw the line. About a behavior of aggressiveness, myism, versus your ism. Draw a line. This is me. I don't know. And if there's some Sanskrit terms where there's appropriate dialogue between persons who have different view, and when there's differences of view, and the objective of the dialogue is to reach truth, not do an arm wrestling match and you pin the other guy's arm to the table and you win and they lose. No thanks. I mean, personally, I draw a line. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in understanding the truth, and I'm happy to hear someone. It's not by hearing someone and respecting someone else has a different view. If their goal is to pin my arm to the table in an arm wrestling match, I'm not interested. Thank you. Even if I know I can pin their arm to the table, I'm not interested in that kind of an exchange. I mean, so I'm responding to her question. Where do you draw the line? Where there's aggressiveness, I win, you lose kind of aggressiveness. Not interested. I draw the line. I can still maintain respectfulness towards the soul, but the behavior is not okay. Expressing a different view has no problem. But the purpose behind expressing a different view, that's where I draw the line. And part of her question, I don't know if it's so important to go into this, but because she asked it, what about within the same line? Like, amongst, we saw some of the temples we saw side by side, there's Ramanujacharya Pujari and Madhvacharya Pujari on the same altar. I don't know if you noticed that, but their tilak indicates different sampradaya. But they're working together, although their doctrines are different. But they're not aggressive about it. They hold their doctrine, and they don't try to push their doctrine on the other. They respect differences, while they know who they are and what they're following, what they're following, and why they're following. So that's wholesome. I mean, it's not always like that, but that's wholesome. And then some within the same line, they have differences, and they have at it. We heard Vyasatirtha was dragged around. No, Vedanta Deshika. The person responsible had a very serious reaction, tuberculosis, and his wife understood, but he had already made that offense. So anyway, when a person's aggressive or offensive, or trying to fill up their pocket with more followers, I draw the line with internally one thing, but externally, I'm going to keep a distance from such a person. Now, so the question was, sometimes we see in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, there's ISKCON and there's non-ISKCON, and although there's the same doctrine, there's disharmony or, not apparent respecting of one another. So where do you draw the line? Question. And my answer to that, of course, it takes maturity to do this, but when persons are aggressive, I draw the line. And there are some persons who are Gaudiyas that are aggressive, and some that aren't. And those that are aggressive, meaning trying to win over followers to their group from another group, our group or some other group, and just gathering followers from already existing Gaudiya Vaishnavas. I keep my distance. On the other hand, there are persons that are not like that. I don't have a problem, provided they're giving the teachings that are our disciplic succession teachings. I may not advertise it, but internally, I full respect, and have dialogue with such persons. But I don't want to have dialogue with somebody that's aggressive. I'll keep a distance, respectful distance, but distance. So there's an answer to where do you draw the line. There's probably so many other variations on the theme of where you draw the line, but that's one answer to that question. Because it was asked a few days ago, I said I would answer it today. Now it's 13 minutes after 10. Let's see if there's somebody who wants to raise their hand. I thought so. Okay, in the front after next.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, I have a question on the theme of intention.
The theme of intention.
From two personalities. First, Madhyageha, Madhvacharya's father. So we heard from you that Madhyageha visited Ananteshwar for 12 years,
12 years.
day by day, praying for a devotee who can deliver from ignorance. So, on this instance of Madhvacharya at the age of 12, thinking about sannyas, his father tried 3 times
Yes.
to delay his sannyas.
No, to have him not do it, not just delay it.
Yeah, exactly. So, is it because of the parental love?
Not love, attachment. Love isn't, the attachment isn't love, and love isn't attachment. Parental attachment. And, you know, there's reasons our son should perform our funeral rites. Our son should look after us in our old age. And then we don't have any other son, and so our son should do that service because that's what Manu Samhita says. But it's attachment. That's why. Spiritually elevated, 12 years, a long time to do anything, every day. So he's obviously not an ordinary fellow, etc. But then, no surprise, attachment forms. Next.
The second personality is Yudhishthir Maharaj. On the 18th day of Kurukshetra, when
Yeah.
Arjuna came back to the camp to make sure his brother is okay, Yudhishthira chastised Arjuna so much,
Severely.
harsh words. So my question, Maharaj,
Super soul. Super soul is the answer. It was purposeful. Now, how conscious is someone who is acting by the prompt of super soul, conscious that this is what super soul wants and I'm doing what super soul wants because I'm his devotee? Who can say? Next, third question.
one last question. Maharaj, you mentioned the bhakti definition, Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Dhyanavritam. The first 2 lines are exactly the same following of Vishishtadvaita.
Yes.
There is a difference in the 3rd and 4th line, right? Anukulyena Krishna Anushilana Bhaktiruttama. So my question is, what is that differences that Ramanuja Acharya practiced from Gaudiyas?
I don't know if the answer lies in the difference of the 3rd and 4th lines of Sanskrit. I'll say it again. I don't know if the answer to your question lies in the language of the 3rd and 4th line between the 2 sampradayas. My understanding is the Siddhanta, not what language is the 3rd and 4th line. Because both teach, unalloyed devotion to the Supreme. Ananya Bhak, undivided devotion to the Supreme. So what's the destination? What's the intention? Back to the question about intention. The intention behind this Ananya Bhakta and that Ananya Bhakta. What's the intention? The concept of the Supreme unto whom I'm taking shelter. And where in that relationship with the Supreme unto whom I'm taking shelter and giving my everything, Sharanagati, Mamekam Sharanam, same. What's my intention? It lies there, not so much what's the 3rd and 4th line. Okay? There's the girls in the front have something.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I like the Yatra very much, and my favorite class was today's one about Golaka and Vrindavan and the different rasas and dayas and stuff. I liked it very much.
Good.
And I had a question that if one is actually, one's mood is actually in Madhurya Rasa, but he wants to go to Gaura Pitha, then where does he go?
Well, according to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, the answer is both. There's no explanation of technology, but both. You follow? You, such a person that you described, would manifest a spiritual form in both sectors, or quadrants is the language of Bhakti Siddhanta.
But Maharaj, only only like pure liberated souls can be in both the
Yeah,
Pithas
but
together.
that's Bhakti Vinod Thakur. To get to Goloka, you have to become pure anyways. So cross your fingers, try your best, become pure. But you're already a follower of Mahaprabhu. You're a follower of Rupa Goswami and the followers of Rupa Goswami. That's where you are. And supposing in the course of this lifetime, you come to the stage of Shuddha Bhakti. So what's that Shuddha Bhakti? It's both. Now, it depends on how you live your life, which is where your faith is.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Okay.
4 sages had come to Adi Shankaracharya's house, right?
Yes.
So Upamanyu, Gautama, Agastya and Dadichi.
Yeah.
So was Dadichi the same sage whose bones were required for Vritrasura's...
There may be more than one, but I don't think so. I don't know the chronology, so I can't say. Because it seems, in response to your question, Dadichi is already gone.
Yes, Maharaj.
Just chronology-wise. So how could he, if he's already gone, how could he come to their door? That's the question.
Yes.
I figured out what your question was behind your question. I don't have the answer. Do you have the answer back there? Which Dadichi was it? Is that what you're raising your hand for? No. Okay. So I don't have the answer. There may be more than one person with the name Dadichi. It may be, so many maybes. Maybe. And the answer, which one of those maybes, I don't know.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
You have something.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question was not about on this yatra, but I had this question from Bhagavatam that one of Krishna's prominent gopis is Chandravali, but they don't talk about Chandravali much.
That's right. So the Gaudiya acharyas don't talk about her much because they're Radharani's side. They don't talk about her so much. But our acharyas do speak of her, but not in the same prominent role as Radharani, because they're left-wing gopis. They're left-wingers. They're followers of Radha. But they speak of her because she enhances the loving dealings of Radha Krishna. And she plays a certain role in enhancing the loving dealings of Radha Krishna.
Yes, Maharaj. But why don't they talk?
Because they're followers of Radharani. Why do you talk so much about the Gaudiya acharyas? Because you're a follower of Rupa Goswami and Lord Chaitanya, so you speak about. Now, we don't so often speak about Madhvacharya and his rarely exalted personalities who are incredible personalities. I mean, I was pretty amazed hearing this elaborate description of who Jayatirtha was before he was Jayatirtha. very elaborate. It's like amazing. It's like Gaudiya topics. This and this and this. So because we're followers of our Goswamis, who we principally read, they're followers of Radharani. They don't speak so much about Chandravali, except that she enhances the loving exchange of Radha and Krishna by being an opposition party.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hmm.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I'm extremely grateful to you for the teachings you imparted from different personalities in this yatra. Now, there is a heavy responsibility lies with us that you mentioned training and education. So now coming to that point, when we are trying to do this little service, so there are lot of impurities in the heart, inefficiency and incapabilities. So we are discussing whether we should wait for those purity to fully manifest, or simultaneously according to our capacity we should move forward. Hare Krishna.
Well, you know the answer. I think you're just asking the question so we could all hear the answer that you already know. We, on the one hand, and on the other hand, we don't wait for purity, recognizing we're not there yet. On the other hand, the principle of sharing as best we can as an instrument of the one from whom we've heard, sharing what we've heard, knowing that it brings purification, and keeping association of persons who will remind us, by the way, you're simply an instrument. By the way, don't get proud. By the way, this, and by the way, that. That is reminders about the anartha nivritti stage that we're also engaged in as we're Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. So we don't neglect Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam in any form because we're not there yet. But we should keep association. But we should keep association with those that are going to remind us. Tap us on the shoulder or bang us on the head or whatever is needed so that we recognize those anarthas are still there and don't get carried away. Go through the process of Shravanam Kirtanam for the purpose of removing the anarthas that are within. So keep around us those who are capable of gently reminding us when we need reminders. Not, being obsessive and something, but keep good association all the while. And be open to reminders. Strive for purity, because that will make you a better instrument. There's so many examples, but a simple example Prabhupada gave. Malati's daughter going to people saying, Saraswati going to people, little girl. And how many times did Prabhupada honor her for that? Do you know who is Krishna? No. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is preaching. So, Saraswati isn't a practicing devotee today. But she received a lot of mercy. Prabhupada loved her very much. That's a lot of mercy. And it's not ever gone. It's just covered over by whatever. There's the answer to your question. Someone else. I see way in the back. Go ahead. Let's just work your way around. It's 10:30, by the way.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I have one question, if you would like to address that. Guru Maharaj, like we have seen you preaching for many, many years, and practically there is no break. Even if there was COVID, the tough Corona period was there, and we saw you all were there preaching every day. It's like I'm pretty much sure, and like as per my understanding, whatever understanding I have, that one of the driving force for this is your deep relationship with your spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. So, Guru Maharaj, as an aspiring disciples or initiated disciples or well-wishers, how do we develop that deep relationship with you, which you have been carrying for all these years?
One word is gratitude. Gratitude means I recognize something, and that something that I recognize, I'm on the receiving end of that something. And because of recognizing that I'm on the receiving end of something so valuable, I don't know the extent of the value of that something, but I know that it's most valuable. My life has been transformed because of it. I'm feeling gratitude. So, a phrase that I've used, I know one devotee that repeats it like all the time. Gratitude is a seed of love. You've heard that one. And when there's love, then where's the boundaries? No, there's the vows that one has. Those are some boundaries, but otherwise, no boundaries. And sometimes there's. It's going to look like this. Sometimes it's a little less. Sometimes. But it's always there, and it grows exponentially. It grows. Okay, someone else's hand towards the back, and then one back here by the speaker, and then we're over because of time.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I wanted to ask that in Prahlad Maharaj's past life, when he had a fight with that lady, he had a fast. So on that day, it was Narsing Chaturdashi.
You heard it.
Yeah, but how it was Narsing Chaturdashi when Narsing Dev had not appeared at that time?
Ah, you're a smart young girl. I've heard that question before, though. Let me ask you this question. How many days are there in the life of Brahma? So in a previous day of Brahma, different than the one that you're aware of when Lord Nrsingadev appeared, he appears every day of Brahma. And that every day of Brahma has a Nrsinga Chaturdasi.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question is regarding, like you shared the 2 days back about Kuresha and Anantacharya. You spoke
Suresha
about
and Mahapurna.
Mahapurna and yeah. So I mean there are 2 questions in this question. Like one do the sadhana. So the main question is like how to feel that sadhana is also a service to nature.
Nectar of Instruction, Text 7. That's how. You know what Text 7 in Nectar of Instruction is about? It's about the holy name and not having a taste for the holy name, which is what your question is. And the verse by Rupa Goswami says, just like one who has a disease, and in that disease, there's a sense that rock candy tastes very bitter, although rock candy is the opposite of bitter. So what to do? When there's a liver disease, rock candy tastes very bitter. You take the rock candy. With faith that it's going to cure up that disease, and then the sweetness in the rock candy I'll taste similarly. Practice. Whether you feel or don't feel. It's not about what you feel or don't feel. The temporary movements of the material energy is not the criterion for what you do and don't do. So by practice, and then comes what is practice? What does that look like? And are there qualitative ways to practice? And the answer is yes. So what's on the downside is offensive. What's on the upside? Clearing. So then you go deeper. What are the offenses, and how do I avoid the offenses, and what does the clearing stage look like? And you put the clearing stage into your GPS, and you go there. You cultivate, you practice abhyasa with faith. And if your faith needs to be strengthened, then associate with those that have faith and hear from them, etc., etc., etc. We're weak. And it has everything to do with the disease. Makes us feel weak. But that's unnatural. And then there's healthy. But I'm weak. So we take the medicine. Even it tastes bitter. I don't like bitter medicine. Okay. Don't take the medicine. Then stay weak. But no, don't do that. Be a follower of Rupa Goswami. And you can get well. Really? Really? Does the process work even for a person like me I like service, but I don't like chanting. You're not the only one in that boat. It's a big boat. Some people like service, and they don't like chanting. So what to do? Follow Rupa Goswami. It's really simple. Nectar of Instruction, Text 7. And I think there's one more question. No, there was somebody in the back had their hand up. Yes. And then that's it.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I had two questions, Maharaj. One is, for this Kali Yuga, it is said in the scriptures that the Yuga Dharma is chanting of the holy name, and the main proponent of chanting of the holy name is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who invented roughly 500 years ago. So my question is, the emphasis or the mention of chanting of the holy name should have been there from the beginning.
It was there.
So what was Madhvacharya's and Ramanujacharya's take on this particular?
Their take on this particular is they did it in their own way. I mean, we heard how many times, but I'll remind you what you heard so many times. Some of the followers of Madhvacharya established Haridas movement, which included what you're asking about. I mean, not exclusively, but inclusive, was the glorification of names. for popular. So then, aside from the people that not brahmanas and don't have the capacity to understand Madhva's elevated, terse, high teachings, they could learn of his teachings through this simple form. So is there. Next.
Second question is related to gratitude, Maharaj. So for many years, I've been trying to cultivate this on a consistent basis by at least taking time on a daily basis and writing few points of gratitude for whatever I'm receiving on a daily basis.
But
I'm not able to do it on a consistent basis. But one of the things I'm able to do it is pray to those devotees who are helping me. So how can I take the next step of doing better with cultivating this quality of gratitude?
Well, there's different answers. One is associate with those that have that quality. You probably know some would have that quality. I know some people. I'm sure that you know some people. And associate with those people. You don't have to can you remind me of why I should be grateful? And, can you talk about it a little bit more because I want to hear some more? You can do that, but, just see it in their character. Sangat, sanjayate, kama. Right? Sangha, one develops kama. By association, desires become your desires or your nature. And it's quite natural. It's quite natural. So find persons who you recognize have that quality. It doesn't have to be like your roommates or something like that, but a person with whom you have a relationship and you regard how they do what they do. And you can say explicitly, I appreciate this about you. You can do that or not do that, but just by association, that quality will help become your quality. And part two is another way of associating is read about those persons who have that quality, because that's another way of associating through sound. And there are persons that have that. I mean, a really, that's three reallys. Nice example is Sudama Brahman. And so become familiar. What Krishna loved about him was his love for Krishna. And he didn't ask, but Krishna gave. And when he gave, you know the story, when he was walking home from Dwarka, he was thinking, Krishna is so kind. Krishna is so kind. He knew why I came, and he didn't even ask me. He could have asked me, and then he would have been obliged. But if he had asked me, I'd have to tell the truth because I'm a Brahmin. And then I'd get all this stuff. Then I'd get proud because I got all this stuff. But Krishna is protecting me. He didn't even ask me. Gratitude. And then he got home and he didn't find his home. He found what he found. And what was in his heart? Gratitude. So there's many such examples. That's one of my favorites. Because he's grateful whether he has nothing or has everything, materially speaking. The greatest gratitude is the gift of our loving relationship with Krishna is being rekindled. Greatest gift. And be in the association of those that understand that and live their life accordingly. They'll naturally, if it's in their hearts, it's going to be in their speech and it's going to be in their conduct. The outside displays what's inside. So from Scripture, from our acharyas, from persons who you know, Sangha, different ways of receiving Sangha and taking on the qualities of Sangha. Sangha, sanjayate, kama. It's quite natural. Okay, thank you all for patiently sticking through all of this. And I recommend that you take some time today before you go somewhere and write down, like to yourself or to a friend or to your spouse or to someone, family member, someone. And, I'd like to do an implementation or application. I'd like to work on this or these few things. Don't make it too many because you won't do them all. Work on and stay with it. That's the test of how it's going to play out. Supposing you don't do that, what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen. So many things are going to come creeping in to grab your attention. You're going to do so many things. It's not like you wasted your time, but you're not going to get the full benefit of all this commitment of time together. So I'd say it the other way. If you make that little effort, it's more likely to stay with you and grow. So my request is make that little effort and mean it. Not just something that someone's going to read your little list and say, oh, those are good ones. Ones that are going to be meaningful to you. And you're actually going to do it. And then actually do it. And then that's the incrementalism, little steps in the right direction. That's my request. Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki? Yeah.